Tony Sanders, how you doing, brother? It's good to see you. Hope all is well in your neck of the woods. Santiago, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Daniel, how you doing? I think it's the first time I've seen your name, Daniel. Welcome to the live chat. Los, what's the good word? Hope you guys are all doing well. So, I've got a couple of things I want to chat about today. Going to give you guys an update on my discussion with CGC regarding J. Scott Campbell. And then we'll also talk about a couple of books. I've been trying to get caught up on my reading. I have a large stack of books here and probably an equally large stack of books at the various shops that I go to that I haven't even picked up yet. But my point is I am behind on my reading. So I sat here and tried to catch up just a little bit, but I also wanted to go live and do a video for you guys. So hopefully you guys will be able to see me here because my video looked like it just froze. So we'll check real quick. Let's see if that works. See if it flushes itself out. I'm back. Chris, if it were a staring contest, brother, I would win. I would just put this thing on pause. All right, so I'm gonna jump into a couple of things here. So I sent off an email. As you guys know, I was having the back and forth regarding the J. Scott Campbell pinup in Savage Dragon #3, and I put together an email, sent it over to CGC, and sure enough, they responded back. So here was their response to me at 8:09 this morning regarding Savage Dragon #3 and the J. Scott Campbell sketch that was in there. Their message says, our graders advise of the following regarding your inquiry. We'd have to do further research once we get the book in as a submission, but worst case scenario is if we can't confirm it's his first work, our label will at least disclose that he has a pinup on the inside. So I thought that was pretty cool. So I responded back to them, and my response was, thanks, I appreciate the response. I'll send those books in. Can you tell me if the research will be done automatically, or do I need to print off this email and include it with the submission? And their response was, yes, I would include this email with your order. So I'm going to go ahead and bundle up the 2 copies of Savage Dragon #3 that I have and send it over to CGC and see what happens, right? They'll do the research, fingers crossed, and at a minimum, there should be some kind of note that is made on the label, which I think is kind of cool, right? So I kind of consider that a win because, you know, there's right now, I looked on the census, I think there's only like 2 9.8s on the census, right? This book isn't a book that you really send in to get slabs, but I'm going to do it because I think it's cool, especially if it comes back with some kind of notation that I was able to get CGC to insert. So I just thought it was kind of cool. So there you go. Let me check it out. Tony Sanders, we did indeed do it, man. So that's kind of cool, right? So Tony Sanders is the guy that actually brought this thing to my attention for the first time about a week ago. Kingpin Comics is the guy that put up a post about the pinup, and then J. Scott Campbell replied to. So I say thanks to both of those guys for helping me to kind of, you know, contribute to the community in a small way. So shout out to you guys. So as I mentioned, I've been trying to catch up on some of my reading. So I sat here and managed to read through 3 books, and I probably have, I don't know, another 9 to go or something like that. But one of the books that I wanted to read that you guys recommended to me that I decided to pick up was this one, this Bone Parish, which is a creepy book. It's a creepy cover, creepy book, but it was a fascinating book. So I don't know if you guys have read this thing or not, but I do recommend it, right? It is a little freaky. And I don't want to give it all away, but I mean, it's like, I think 3 weeks old. So, basically what it is a drug called ash that is made from the cremated remains of people that have passed away. And there's a hallucinogenic component to this drug. And it's like a family run business. And it's an interesting thing. There's like a little bit of not a cliffhanger, but a surprise at the end that you didn't quite expect. But I found it to be an entertaining read. I am a big fan of Marvel books just in general. And honestly, if I did not pay attention to the Boom Studios at the top of this thing, I would assume that this was a Marvel book. Just in terms of the production quality, the writing, the pace of the story, the artwork was all pretty solid, and it could have easily been a Marvel book. So if you have not read this book, I do recommend it. I think it's pretty darn solid, just across the board. So get caught up here. Cold Shots out this week, as well as Creepy Good, to check that out. Yeah, JD, I would definitely check it out. I would definitely check it out. It is definitely an interesting book. We Love Comics. I would definitely recommend the John Romita Barbie for you. I hear rumor that there is a Dirty Dancing segment in that book that you might find entertaining, so you might want to check that out. Shout out to Chris at We Love Comics. So the other book that I read I struggle with this book. It is Cosmic Ghost Rider. This is number 2. I happen to pick up the variant for cover price. I think I've seen it places being sold a little bit higher than cover price, which I think is a little crazy. This book, same with number 1. Cosmic Ghost Rider is a nutcase, right? So he is crazy. But I think Donny Cates has a lot of fun writing this book because Cosmic Ghost Rider is a nutcase, right? And he's like in his head, he's doing kooky stuff. He kind of, to some degree, reminds me of like how Deadpool is in a movie. A little just on his own pace, you know? But the Cosmic Ghost Rider story, I think the pacing of the story is pretty well done. The dialogue is pretty solid. My complaint with this book is the artwork. The artwork is not very good at all, to be honest with you. The cover art is okay. The cover art is actually done by a different artist than the interior panels, but the interior panels are not good. You know, just the depiction of Thanos is not great. The way that Frank Castle looks, I don't think is very good. Galactus is actually in this when he looked like an old man, you know, saggy face. And there was 1 or 2 panels with Galactus that looked good, but the vast majority of them were not very good. And it's just the artwork isn't quite where I think it should be, but I struggle because I really like the story. The story is entertaining. What Frank Castle is trying to do with Thanos, I think is pretty cool. If you look at the Watcher in here, it's just the worst rendition of the Watcher maybe that I've ever seen in a book, to be honest with you. So I struggle with this one. I struggle with making any kind of recommendation around this one. If you like Donny Cates' writing, I say get it. If you like really good artwork, this is not the book for you. So get caught up. So Poor Man's Comics is saying that he likes Bone Parish. It is definitely cool. Tony Sanders, I would check it out, brother, if you can get it. Actually, I may send an email over to my LCS and ask him to pull, you know, maybe the next 5 issues of Bone Parish for me, because it could be kind of interesting to read. So yeah, We Love Comics. Definitely Old Man Galactus. Definitely. It is definitely not an entertaining thing. So I'm getting, all right, so saw somebody say that there was something wrong with the sound, but it seems to be working for most people, so cool. Jugger Duck is on the last page. All right, so the other book that I read was one that I was actually looking forward to, and it was, this is the variant version. Extermination, and then here is the regular cover of it. So this is one that I read, and it's basically like the new X-Men, the old X-Men, all crammed into one. And it was a pretty good book to read, to be honest with you. And I really enjoyed reading the letter at the end by Ed Brinson. I guess that's how you say his name. He actually wrote that, you know, back in 2017, he came up with this idea at the X-Men Summit for a way of doing a story where you would clean up the timeline and give some organization to what was happening with the X-Men. And so he was saying he never envisioned that his idea would actually be the idea that they would move forward with. But sure enough, they selected his idea, and he was given an opportunity to write this book where he's basically cleaning up the timeline. And in this issue, I don't know if you guys have read it, I won't give it all away. There are 2 X-Men that actually pass away in this issue. And I think what they're trying to do in this 5-part story arc is to clean up the X-Men universe so as to allow the writers that are working on the new X-Men title to start with a clean slate, where a lot of this stuff has been cleaned up. And what was interesting about his letter, Ed's letter, was that he was saying, we are not going to make the characters that you've enjoyed reading, I guess it's like 2012, a memory or a flashback or a mirage, right? He was saying we are going to, that everything that you've read up until this point is all true. It all happened. We are simply going to clean things up and allow people to start with a clean slate. So I thought that was a really good move, right? Because I think that's one of the complaints that a lot of people have made in the past, is that you've taken this character that I've enjoyed reading about and you basically say that the character never existed, which is kind of BS. So I thought it was interesting that they were going to handle it a different way. So it was a good read. I enjoyed it. It's a 5-part story arc, and I actually just did send a message to one of the LCSs to ask them to pull these for me, because I want to read all the way through. I want to get ready for the new X-Men title that's coming out, and I think I haven't read all the details, but it's seeming, you guys may know better than I do, that there's actually multiple writers and artists that are working on the new X-Men titles. I wanted to read more about it because it's something that I am looking forward to. So Chris, I guess, has gotten his character pulled, his sound pulled together. So thanks for that. Aunt May, gotta love it. So yeah, a couple of really cool things in this issue. So if you guys haven't read it, I highly recommend it. It was definitely a good read. For X-Men fans, you definitely want to check it out. So those are just a couple of the books that I you know, had an opportunity to read. I still have several books over here to check out, like Infinity War. I still am back 2 copies on Weapon H. I've got Domino, Astonishing X-Men, and then also the 3rd issue of Tony Stark that I still need to read. And then I'm also still I got X-23 over here as well. So a couple of cool things left to look at. And then I still need to head over to the LCS probably tomorrow and pick up a couple of other books from them. So We Love Comics is making a comment here that it's 10% eBay Bucks sale today. Yeah, I did see that. I think it was one that you had to activate. So I did that first thing this morning. I don't know if I'm going to buy anything, to be honest with you. There was a couple of things that you raised. I think it was like eBay Bucks did something, and there was another like cash back incentive or something like that I activated like 2 days ago that went on for like 3 days. And I haven't purchased anything in that time. I did, however, if you guys saw my video last night, I did purchase a stack of books from Chris, a different Chris than We Love Comics. Local Chris went by and picked up some stuff from him, and it actually resulted in a change on my wall back there. I'm not sure if you guys can notice the change, but there is one modification that I've made to the wall back there as a result of something that I picked up recently. So I am not getting any Golden Age books, I'm telling you now. So I don't know if you saw Chris last night's chat, but there was a couple of Golden Age books that I had a chance to see up close in person, specifically some Detective Comics books last night. Actually posted up a couple. So No DC books either. I mean, isn't it good enough that I did a Boom Studios book for you guys and then also talked about Savage Dragon, which is Image? Come on. I think that's enough diversity and growth for me over the course of 2 days, right? So, dude, can't wait for my toss. Yeah, so Tony Sanders was funny, dude, is that we talked about that book and I was actually going to take a picture of it and take a picture with your book and then send it to you. But I had already been there for like 2 hours. So I was like, you know what? I need to get my butt out of here and get myself home, because they actually, where I went was not too far from like my job. And if you don't leave at the right time, you will spend 2 hours in traffic. So I was already gone like 2 hours from the house. So I needed to get back before getting stuck in traffic. So Steven, how you doing, brother? Welcome. So no, we're not unboxing anything. We did an unboxing 3 books last night. Nothing else has arrived yet. There's a couple of inbound packages for me, but nothing arrived just yet. My mail typically doesn't arrive until like 5 o'clock and it's only like 3 here. So if there is something that comes tonight, we'll do an unboxing probably tomorrow. And no unbackings and no reveals of any kind. Victor, how you doing? Welcome. So yeah, I don't know if you guys noticed, there is a change back there, Attila. I don't know if you can see the change or notice the change, but there is something new back there. So all I did in this video was give people an update on the J. Scott Campbell CGC dialogue that I had. I'll be sending in my 2 Savage Dragon books, hopefully today or tomorrow, with the hope that they will make some different notations on the label for that book. And then I talked about a couple of books that I recently read, probably 2 weeks late, 3 weeks in one case, on some new books that I picked up. I kind of talked through those. So nothing crazy. The other thing that I'm really trying to do here, and it was a little bit of a disappointment, is I am testing out some new technology. I shot over to Best Buy, earlier today as soon as they opened, and I picked up an Orbi. Orbi is like a network extender that replaces your Comcast modem and then amplifies the signal. So I have an Orbi router running and then 2 Orbi satellites, one on the first floor and one upstairs. And this thing is supposed to provide lightning fast internet. And sure enough, I run the first speed test and it actually comes in some cases 3 times as fast as what Comcast was giving me on their platform. So unfortunately, it kind of froze here on me, but I think by and large, I think this is going to be the solve that I've been looking for. So hopefully we won't have any more issues. Yes, so A Poor Man's Comic got it. The X-Men 50, the second appearance of Polaris, is new back there. I don't know if I'll hit it right. Let's see if I get it right. I may have gone the wrong way. I think it's over here. Yeah, it's on the other side. But X-Men 50 is a new one. Nope, I was still off. Picked that one up the other day from a guy named Chris. So super excited to have that in the collection. I've wanted that book for a long time. I actually spotted it when I was at Berkeley Con and didn't pick it up then and walked away empty-handed. But I had another shot at it and decided to go ahead and get it. So I think that is about it, to be honest with you. So Chris is saying something about, I think it's 10% off over at eBay, right? So I'm guessing you have to, if you have an eBay account, you have to log in, activate it. I want to say that the 10%, and Chris, you correct me if I'm wrong, the 10% is if you buy through the app. Yeah, so find 10% eBay bucks in app. And if you buy on the website, it's only 8% and it's a minimum of $25 purchase. It's actually good through tonight. So if you guys haven't gone over and activated that, I would recommend that you do it. I've been tracking a couple of really cool things. I've got several books that are inbound, as I kind of talked about, but don't think I'm going to take advantage of this one. But I still activated it because you never know. I do have a watch reminder set right now for Amazing Spider-Man 1.8, number 1, 1.8. So no golden age. JD, yes, the change is the X-Men 50 back there. that wonderful green and yellow Steranko cover that I absolutely love. I should have done a corresponding Doctor Strange Steranko cover for First Appearance Friday, and I made the wrong call. So yeah, exactly. I activated it and probably won't buy anything unless something strikes me over the next couple of hours. So sometimes I like to take a break from eBay because it is so tempting to just buy stuff. Like you can literally sit there and buy stuff all day if you have enough money and enough resources. But sometimes I like to take a break for it and get away from it. So brother, C. Woodard, welcome to the chat, my man. It is definitely one of my favorite covers as well. It is a really, really striking cover. It's not often that you see greens and yellows on a cover. And so it is striking to me. So Chris, check this out. Here is a Detective Comics from 1942 featuring the Joker. This is, I was able to hang out with a couple of guys yesterday that showed some really cool stuff to me yesterday. And this was just one of the things that they pulled out. It had actually come in, I think like the day before, and he was super excited about the book. So I went ahead and brought it for me so I could check it out. And then here is another Detective Comics number 35 from 1940. It was speaking of green and yellow covers, here's a really cool one. So reading Chris's comments here, trying to get Fantastic Four 5 as soon as you can, brother. So those early Fantastic Four books, I am really enjoying. The guys, when I was hanging out with Chris and Ben yesterday, we actually talked about a myriad of topics. And one of them was how the Fantastic Four is something that's growing on me, and then we also talked about, my, not frustration, but I just thought it was interesting how women were depicted back in the day, how Invisible Girl was referred to as the Invisible Girl, right? And you had Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, not Fantastic Boy, right? But she was a weak woman who fainted, who needed to be rescued because she was always being kidnapped. And we just had a wonderful discussion around how certain people were depicted back in the day and how that was just a reflection of the times. But it's just interesting how that was accepted and how you look at it now as being very, very strange, and how those characters, specifically Invisible Woman or Invisible Girl, has gone on to become such a powerful character where she's now Invisible Woman, and she can not just turn invisible, but she can she has I don't know what the technical term is, but her force shields and all this kind of stuff, the things that she's been able to do as she's, over time and mastered her powers, et cetera, et cetera. So it was an interesting discussion with these guys, specifically about Fantastic Four. But many of those FF books I would like to pick up. Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. But yeah, oh yeah. So Chris is making a comment here around some bondage themes, and there are certain books, if you look at those books, they're very interesting what the artists choose to weave into those images, that if you pay attention, it is very fascinating. But Chris, I'm curious, I have my thoughts, but I'm curious, like, why do you think Fantastic Four number 5 is about to blow up? And if you have a video on it, just say so, and I'm sure people will go over there and take a look at it if they haven't. I have some catching up to do, obviously. So Whitewell Comics is saying that she was literally the embodiment of how women were created in comics back then. Exactly. She was like a shrinking violet, right? She would turn invisible and she would faint, And I mean, it was just fascinating how they chose to depict her. But you could say the same thing around, Asians and blacks, et cetera, et cetera. But thankfully times have changed, and now people are, by and large, viewed as being people. So, okay, got it. So he's basically saying the movies, Doctor Doom, yeah. So Doctor Doom is supposed to be in Avengers 4. I think they've shown some behind the scenes footage of him. It's amazing how those costumes don't look that great when you just see them, but in the movie, they're with the lighting and the special effects and all that stuff, they look amazing. But just if you look at the costumes in a regular photo taken with a a regular camera, they just look awful. So, but yeah, so that Fantastic Four #5 is not a good read, right? It's not a very good issue, if I'm remembering the issue correctly, because I read it maybe 2 weeks ago. It's not a very good issue. I think that Doom is an important character, right? There's no doubt about that. You can't deny that. But just from an enjoyment standpoint, that book was not a very good book. So, Gorilla, how you doing, brother? Welcome to the live chat. This thing was supposed to run very, very short, but we're stretching it out here because we're starting to get into, I think, a pretty good discussion. So, so Chris is making a point here, and I think it's a very valid point around any X-Men or Fantastic Four books that you can pick up, you should, which is part of the reason why I picked up that 50 back there. I probably could have gotten it at a higher grade, but it's a wonderful cover, and it's a decent grade at a 9.0, and you just don't know what's going to happen. So I'm curious to that point, though. Someone asked me a provocative question yesterday. It wasn't necessarily about X-Men directly or Fantastic Four, but it was around Hulk 181 and whether the prices of Hulk 181 would continue to go up. I mean, you guys are probably looking at it the same way that most people are. The prices on that book have gone up like crazy, right? And I was saying to the person that the book is going up because of the popularity of X-Men, because of the popularity of Wolverine, right? Which are kind of synonymous. But then also because so many people are priced out of other major keys that this is, people say this all the time, this generation's Amazing Fantasy 15. And so the question was, should I get in and buy Hulk 181 now, or should I wait for a price correction? And he said a bubble, and I refer to it as a price correction. And the thing is, you just don't know, right? You just don't know, because right now there's a lot of excitement around the X-Men and around Fantastic Four because of what could potentially happen with the MCU. And I don't know if that hype will die down until a trailer, for example, might be released. And then maybe they'll trail off or until a movie. I don't know that that's going to happen until like 2019, right? Potentially, right? 2019, 2020, that could potentially happen. So could you get a cooling off period between now and 2019, 2020? Maybe. But then when the movie comes out, are you going to see that precipitous drop, and how high will it go? And then what will that precipitous drop be? It is definitely a tough call, So I don't know. Gorilla, good stuff, man. You are very welcome, brother, for that. You are very welcome. So White Whale Comics is on the lookout for a giant size X-Men #1. So if you guys see one out there, hook them up with that. And yes, 181 is crazy. White Whale Comics uses the term buck wild. I will not use that term. I will say that the prices are crazy. And, I have 2 copies of it. I have a 5.0 signature series, and I have an 8.5. Super happy to have those in my collection. At the time, I felt like it was a tremendous amount of money to pay for those books. But the way that the market has kind of responded, it's kind of rewarded those people that jumped on board. And the question is there a price correction? I think Fantastic Four #1, in my opinion, has had a run up, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed for a price correction, because I kind of want to get Fantastic Four, because Fantastic Four #1, because of the historical significance of what that book represents, but also because it's a good read, right? I mean, I enjoyed that book. I've read it a couple of times, and it is a pretty good book. So, I think the thing is, Chris, myself, a lot of other people spend a lot of time speculating about what's actually going to happen. And at the end of the day, I don't think any of us knows, So my thing is to try to pick up books that I enjoy at prices that I think are appropriate and fair. And to be honest with you, that's almost the best that I can do, and hope for the future. So anyway, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to join me for this chat. As always, I enjoy these discussions, especially when people get in here and you know, have a little fun and start batting ideas around. I enjoy that. So I want to thank you guys for joining me, spending a little bit of time with me. I want to thank you in advance for any comments and thumbs up that you may leave behind. And as always, if you guys want to reach me, you can reach me here through the comments, or you can send me a message on Instagram at RegieCollects. Take care and have a good one.